When we talk about galactic origins, I feel it's an important thing to note that there are two components when it comes to our origin stories. There's prehistory and there's Earth history stories. And there's basically prehistory is before Earth, like before time and space, when it was just time and space, or even before time and space even existed. And Earth history is Earth history. It's the history of our planet, whether it's the Garden of Eden on our planet, whether it's different ETs and beings living in different areas on our planet, or whether it's a recent origin story of how the Aztecs came out of a cave in Central America and with different tribes and then inhabited to create the great Aztec Empire. All those stories. So there's two distinct type of stories we see in origin stories of humanity. We see prehistory, we see Earth history. Sometimes we have a combination of both, and sometimes we have pre-deluge, which is pre-flood story, and post-deluge stories as well. And then there's Earth history examples would be something like the Sumerian scriptures, the Greeks, they have the stories of the gods on Earth and what they did, but it can also be kind of, there is a fine line there because they could be talking about celestial occurrences that even occurred before these beings came to Earth. And then we have Egypt's origin stories and so much more that really have an earthly component to it. A good example of prehistory would be something like this. Well, when it comes to science, it would be like this. Cosmological models maintain that 13.8 billion years ago, the entire mass of the universe was compressed into a gravitational singularity, the so-called cosmic egg, from which it expands to its current state following the Big Bang. So, of course, conventional science believes there was the Big Bang, right? And in the Big Bang, after that, there was an infinite mass, and it was right there in a singularity right in the center, and there was some sort of explosion that pushed everything out, and that is the scientific conventional model. It's if you can tell right here, it says cosmic egg, and if you look at my creation stories presentation, you'll notice that the cosmic egg is actually a metaphysical word, is actually used throughout origin stories a lot. So the fact that conventional science models actually use the same word is very interesting. And then the metaphysical terminology is the cosmic egg represents potentiality. And this is my own definition of it. The cosmic egg represents potentiality. It is the pre-creation held within the chaos, waiting to become the chaos. This duality then sets up conflict found throughout the world mythology, the duality of chaos and order, good and evil, light and dark, love and hate. So again, the cosmic egg, let's look at it and compare the two. We have the science model of the infinite singularity mass, which is a cosmic egg. Now, in metaphysics, we're talking about the same thing, the cosmic egg. What does it represent? Unlimited potential. What else is it? The metaphorical terminology for infinite singularity with all matter and all existence and all creation in it is infinite potential. It is it was the order that became chaos. It was the division, the duality that sprung from it all. So our galactic origin stories are actually a combination of both of those, prehistory and Earth history. Because what is galactic origins? Whatever took place to lead towards the birth, the incarnation of humans on this planet, and led us up to this day that we're at right now. So our galactic origins might be a story of how we might have sprouted and started, and even started isn't even the proper word because that implies time, but how we started within the cosmos and then continues up until how we got here today. Humanity's journey from inception to this current linear experience. It introduces the concept of a paradox, of there being an origin when time is only a construct of our position in space relative to the sun. So the paradox in that statement that I made right there implies that there is an origin, that there is a beginning, right? But we know that time is only a construct of Earth's position from our sun. Time exists in all types of ways, fluidity in all types of ways, but the linear time we have is that position. So it implies there is a paradox there. So what is the universal paradox? As I really evolved with this information over the last 20 years or so, pretty early, in this awareness, I realized that there was a paradox. And the first component of how I realized that was the fact that there is an infinite universe, right? We call the universe infinite. And we also know the universe is constantly expanding now. It used to be thinking that it would expand and contract, right? If it expands and contract, Doesn't that imply it's finite? If it's infinitely expanding, doesn't it imply that it's not fully expanded yet? And if it's not fully expanded yet and it's infinitely expanding forever, how does that work? Because the only thing that can continue to expand is something that's finite. So if you have something that's finite, it can continue to get bigger. But how can something that's infinite continually become infinite? A paradox. So to me, that implies the illusion. It's all holographic in my mind. The fact that either one, it's a holographic creation, and that could be a huge component to it, or our brains are not fully able to process the frequency of understanding what a paradox is. The only thing we can do is accept a paradox, but we can't understand it because paradoxes should not exist. A great example of a paradox: quantum physics, Newtonian physics. Quantum physics, guys, is a paradox to Newtonian physics. The laws of quantum physics do not match Newtonian physics. The quantum physics says Newtonian physics should not exist. Newtonian physics says quantum reality and quantum world should not exist. They both contradict each other. However, Newtonian physics, everything above an atom, everything that is an atom and above, everything that is an atom and above, Newtonian physics is a paradox and contradicts the science of everything that is subatomic. So there's a paradox there. So another one is time exists, but it also does not exist, right? Like, as I said earlier, we have this construct between us and the sun. So if you want to look at just time like that, as soon as you step outside of our atmosphere, now you're experiencing time completely differently. And then most of the people here would even have the component of time is just a construct of this linear dimension, that when you go into different dimensions, um, higher dimensions or parallel realities, time could be experienced differently or may not even exist at all. So that too is a paradox. And then we are solid beings, yet we're also vibrating frequency that have no form or shape. Paradox. How on earth, pun intended, can we be solid beings and also have no shape and be complete frequencies made out of the same exact frequency as everything around me, including this desk? It's just static frequency. So that's a paradox. So understanding and accepting that there's a universal paradox led me down this pathway of realizing how that connects into the galactic origins. But before we begin our story of our galactic origins, let's break down what dimensions are and the mechanics of our galaxy. And you can see down here in this image at the bottom just a few concepts of what dimensions are. One dimension, we have the line. Two dimensions, we have length and height. And then three dimensions, we have height, length, and width. So what are dimensions? Physics and mathematicians say a dimension of space is defined as the minimum number of coordinates needed to specify any point within it. Therefore, a line has a dimension of 1 because only one coordinate is needed to specify a point on it. Okay? And in spirituality and consciousness, what is a dimension? A realm, and again, this is my definition that I created, a realm and or a frequency of experience that can be obtained through various forms of conscious awareness, soul contracts, karmic agreements, and more. I had to throw more in there because I don't really know, right, how we can obtain all these dimensional experiences. But a realm or frequency of experience is what I like better. I like to say that more than higher dimension. Because when we say the word higher dimension, we're implying that it's better than, it's higher than, there's a hierarchy. Some people may not have that connotation when they say it, but a lot of people may. They'd be like, oh, I can't, that person's so higher dimensional, right? We're going into a higher dimension, it's going to be better for humanity. That implies that what we're having now, this experience now, is not good for humanity. But I really feel that all the experiences that we have within our dimensions, whatever dimension we're in, are all good because they're all clocking in experiences. We wouldn't have been allowed to come on this planet to have the experience of duality if it was so bad that it wasn't supposed to happen at all, right? So the experiences that we're having, the dualistic experiences, are various forms of experience that can be obtained through conscious awareness. And we have, as I'll show later, we have the ability within our own bodies to obtain those levels of awareness. What are dimensions? The world as we know it has three dimensions. You've heard 3D quite a lot. Three dimensions of space, length, width, and depth, and one dimension of time, the fourth dimension. Physicists and mathematicians and spiritualists all believe the possibility that many more dimensions exist. According to string theory, the physical universe operates within 10 dimensions. So I have my own belief on that. I think it's actually 12 dimensions of physicality within the incarnational cycle of this galaxy. But they're even trying to figuring it out now, right? Mainstream science is saying what metaphysicists have been saying for 1,000 plus years. And there are also different types of dimensions. Dimension is such a broad word that when somebody says to me, what is a dimension? Unless I have an opportunity to show them 20 minutes of slides, I really can't just explain it in one component because what dimension are you talking about? What kind of dimension are you talking about? It's used for many overlapping and seemingly independent concepts. For example, we have parallel dimensions. We have physical dimensions of this reality, of this timeline. We have spiritual dimensions. We have dimensions in the galaxy. We have realms of no dimensions at all. We have the void. We have a dimension within a dimension. These are different components that have been thrown out there as possibilities of existing. So just to say the word dimension isn't really explanatory. When most of what I'm going to be talking about today, except for the part when we get into time travel, which is going to be interesting, but what most of them I'm expressing today are dimensions with are probably really the 12 dimensions, including the 13th, which is the void, of different experiences that we can incarnate into and tap into within our own galaxy. So it is important to realize that these concepts and titles may have been spiritually informed, but are also human constructs based on perception and unique experience on Earth. If we did not exist on Earth, if Earth didn't exist at all and humans didn't exist, dimensions, parallel realities, physical, spiritual, the void, the black hole in the center of a galaxy, all of those things will still be there, right? Yeah, well, I guess it depends on who you ask. It's all about if the tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it, right? But all of those things would really still be there because if we weren't here right now, Earth just vanished, it would still be there. So when we're calling fourth, third, second, first dimension, astral reality, parallel dimension, every one of those terms are all human constructs, human words designed to explain universal concepts that would exist whether we have the words to explain them or not. So it's important to do that because otherwise you can label and identify it with things too much by saying like fifth dimension or something like that. Whereas that's just a human construct as well. And it's great because we give the labels to the things that we want to, but knowing that we've also imposed these constructs on it and made it into a hierarchy and all this stuff is a good thing to know moving forward.